No. What's going on there, mate? Matey. Alright. Welcome, guys. Welcome back to another video. This time, I do not feel like doing a check and seeing if my video is on because I just don't feel like it. Just don't want to do it, love. So, just get straight into the video, I guess, you know. So, the reason why I wanted to do this video today was because I wanted to share my own experiences and how they've helped me a little bit, especially when it comes to my dreams, because my dreams has been one of my biggest saving graces in terms of all my experiences. It's helped me to see my experiences through a more clearer lens. And it's funny actually because, you know, I feel like when people want to solve their problems in their reality, a lot of the time they want to go and look at something physical. They like, you know, maybe they want to read a book, or maybe they think they need to go to a therapist, or it's always something to do with the external. It's always something to do with the physical, where a lot of people feel like they should go in order to actually help them with their current situation. We need to understand or overstand that majority of our issues are not actually physical at all. They're actually mental and spiritual. So if you're going out into the physical, trying to solve something that's mental or spiritual at its root, even though physically it may be displaying itself in your reality as an issue, the root cause and the seed of that situation most likely came from a spiritual or mental lens. Most likely, you know, it depends. I guess it depends, you know, on a certain individual situation. But even then, even if it was to be physical, let's say, you still mentally and spiritually allowed that physical situation to keep going, and you didn't actually put the boundary up and tell yourself, you know what, I do not need this experience anymore. Let me just put this to the side because this is actually hurting me and not helping me. So when it comes to our dreams and just our problems in general, what I've noticed from my own personal experiences is that it's like literally majority of the time, if not 99%, if not even sometimes 100% of the time, the problem is mental and spiritual. It's just you not realizing which area or which aspect is mental or spiritual at a lot of the time. So like, I struggled back in the past with being able to see people clearly, being able to know when people were right for me. And my kind of thoughts with that whole situation was like, okay, if I'm focusing real hard, if I'm trying real hard to pay attention to the different signs, and if I'm trying real hard to do this and this and that, then maybe I'll be able to figure out the signs and all the different ways which you can tell someone is manipulating, or someone is this or someone is that, you know, all the different ways that I can tell these kind of characteristics. And definitely I would say that that's a part of it, of course. You know, those are aspects of it, right? But in actuality, a lot of the things that helped me was more mental or spiritual based. And when I say spiritual or mental based, right, this is more talking about my ability to be able to control or manage my own mental state, right? And then also my ability to be able to be aware, or to be able to utilize, I don't even know, you can't really, trying to put it into words, you know what I mean? Like English, Inglese. I guess I won't talk about that specific part of it yet, because I don't like to go into shit if I'm not 100% or at least majority percent sure about what I'm about to get into and I'm about to explain, you know? So let's just bar that part for now. get into the whole other part of the video. But yeah, essentially, it comes from those kind of roots where you're managing your mental state, right? And that's a form of spiritual in general, because you need your spirit, right? You need your own being in order to be able to manage your mental state. Otherwise, what's managing your mental state? Like, you know, you're the one managing your mental state. So that's your spirit, you know. You are that. You are it, you know. So it's a little bit of kind of preface as well. If anyone wants to learn more about the spirit in general, maybe you don't know about it, you can go check out my other videos. I'm not going to sit here and explain this, not for this video at least, you know, maybe another video in the future. Love to. This video right now, no, we're just focusing on dreams. We're just focusing on my own experiences, how these have helped me, how these have helped me solve my issues, and all that kind of shamaz, kazaz, pizzazz. So, when it comes to my dreams, that has actually helped me to be able to see a lot of my situations a lot more clear. And in certain situations where I'm thinking that I'm actually doing okay and that the people around me have a positive intention towards me and with me, and then I've had dreams that have actually showed me the complete opposite. And so it's actually kind of allowed me to take the moment to step back and not put my all into certain situations where I was thinking that things were okay, things were peachy keen, but then actually I would actually come across certain dreams and then I'd be like, oh, that dream looks like it's saying no. And then I actually would listen to those dreams and I'd find myself actually in a better position because of it. Like just one vague example. This is kind of a little bit vague because it's been a while since that situation, so I'm not sure I'm going to be able to encapsulate the full gist of the situation, but I'll do my best to try. So, when I was in New Zealand, like a year and a half or a year ago, I was working at KFC. So when I was working there, certain times, let's say like this might not exactly be actually now that I'm thinking about it, but we'll just use that as an example instead of being like an anecdote. Let's say like they call me up, right? Let's say they call me up and they're like, hey, can you please come into work? We need blah blah blah, we need this and that. And then the night before I would have had a dream about something to do with work and me being in like an unfamiliar space, and then things being actually really negative. And for example, like I'm in the kitchen, I'm making like these burgers, and like the burgers, like we had to make the burgers, but like it was like a tiny ass pot. And so like I had to make the burgers one by one. Like I had to put each individual patty into the freaking fryer. Which also, like, why the fuck are you making burgers in the fryer? That's not exactly the ideal way to be making burger patties, right? But anyways, it's streams, guys. Just get with it. So yeah, I'm putting each individual patty in the fryer, and then I'm taking them out and putting them into the like side part where we get ready to serve all the burgers, right? And then, due to that dream, I'm like, obviously something's not right. You know what I mean? I don't necessarily think that I should be going to work or whatever the case may be. So, when they called me up and said, "Hey, can you please come in?" I was like, "No." You know what I mean? And then next minute, later on, or like a few days later, when I go back to work, they're like, "Oh, you're so lucky that you didn't come in that day. They tried to call you." I'm just like, "Oh, okay." And then you start to see the confirmation, you know. But it can be a bit tricky, especially in the past. I had no clue on how to actually interpret any of my dreams, which is why I would recommend, I'm going to put into the comments a video. It is by Dolo the Pilot Man. Shout out to him. And it is about sun gazing and moon gazing. Now, if anyone would genuinely want to learn more about interpreting their dreams, especially like, obviously it's different when it comes to, certain dreams that are a little bit more obvious and a little bit more literal, okay? Because some dreams can be more literal and some dreams are a little bit more cryptic, I'm talking about the cryptic ones, or the ones that maybe a lot of people might not be able to get and might not be easily interpreted, and you might need to go to someone else, and you won't necessarily need to go to anyone else. If you watch this sun gazing video that I'm about to put in the comments, because that's what helped me. I went from someone who had no clue at all about any way of interpreting a lot of my dreams. And then obviously certain videos that Dolo posted, he would kind of break down like different structures. Like if you're in an internal space, if you're in a house, that's usually representing your own internal, because what are you in? You're in an internal space, right? So that would represent you in your mind, but internally. So that represents like your own internal space. AKA anything you experience within that house could represent different sides and different aspects of you within that dream. And then when you're outside of the house, obviously you can safely assume that that's external, so that's probably something you're going to be experiencing outside of you. Okay, so, but those are kind of basics. When it came to like a lot of other dreams where there would kind of be nuances, and then there would even be certain situations where I'd be inside in one part of the dream, then I'd be outside in another part of the dream. And it got a little bit hectic because I was like sitting there, I was like rattling my brains, like, what the heck? How am I supposed to interpret this dream? This is a little bit much. I don't know if I can fully encapsulate or know about this dream. And so that's where sun gazing and moon gazing came in for me. I was able to use both of those to kind of interpret and help myself to understand my dreams on a more greater level, on a more expanded level, so that I wasn't so confused, and I was able to put the pieces together a lot more easier. And over time, as I started to do that, like each time I struggled with my dream, I would sun gaze and moon gaze about it. I noticed myself being able to get better and better over time, to the point where I would have certain dreams that I would just be able to wake up and I'd just be like, yep, I know this dream was this, and this. And then it got to another point where I would actually start to sun gaze and moon gaze, and I wouldn't be able to get much information. And I chalked it up to, oh yeah, okay, it must be working because I'm not able to get more information due to the fact that I'm not actually needing any more information. I've got all the information that I need in order to actually interpret this dream, right? So that's when I started to kind of stop doing the dream thing in terms of sun gazing and moon gazing. Started to sun gaze and moon gaze on different topics, different topics that I'm actually needing to learn, as opposed to dreams. Now it's more of a natural kind of thing majority of the time. Certain dreams I'll still find myself, but generally now I'm able to pick up throughout the day, especially when it comes to like my thoughts and feelings, like always paying attention to the way that I'm thinking and feeling in each aspect of my dream and then in each aspect of my day, So once I notice that it's a certain thought or feeling that's very similar to a certain aspect of my dream, I know that's a message, that's something relating to my dream, because I must be in the same space, mentally and emotionally, or, emotionally and thoughtfully, or whatever the heck. I'm in the same space for me to be experiencing the same thoughts and feelings. And so that's what allowed me to kind of really tie the strings together and be able to connect the dots. And so I was able to be like, oh, okay, so now even if I find myself struggling, I'll go throughout the day and then I'll be like, oh, instantly I recognize that thought and that feeling. That's exact thought and feeling that I've actually experienced in my dream. And so I know, based on the dream, a good idea of what to do. Like, let's say I had a negative thought or feeling in the dream, and it made me feel like I wanted to escape something. And then later on in the dream, something actually negative happened after I acted on that thought and feeling of feeling negative. Then I'd be more inclined to be like, okay, maybe I shouldn't act on that thought or feeling if that's going to lead to that eventual outcome of things playing out negatively. So then I'll go the opposite direction, where I would have normally, had I not known about my dreams, I would have been like, let me just act on this thought or feeling because, you know, I feel uncomfortable, and why the fuck would I try to make myself any more uncomfortable by pushing through it, you know? But nowadays I'm like, no, that was part of my dream, so I know now to actually let go of that feeling and that thought and not act on that shit because I seen in the dream. I seen. And that's how you can have better vision and you can solve a lot more of your issues. And then you find yourself not having to like go back on shit and be like, why didn't this happen? And why wasn't I able to see this? Why weren't I able to see that? But you were able to see it. You just didn't realize that that's what you were looking at majority of the time when it comes to those situations. And so when you pay attention to your dreams, you'll be able to kind of more clearly see certain things that you're looking at, you know, because you're able to look at the mental layer rather than the physical layer of it. And so you're able to see things more clearly and more in their lighter form, you know, before they actually start to manifest in your reality. So it's always a representation of what's going on with you. Like, that's why you probably, like, I don't even know if I believe in dreams about like predicting other people and stuff like that. For me, it's more always been to do with my own space and how other people's spaces might be interacting with mine. That's about as close as it'll get to predicting other people's lives and stuff like that. Me, you know, I'm also open to being wrong, you know, so I'm not going to sit there and say I'm a know-it-all and everything's the end-all be-all. But just from my own personal experiences, my dreams have always been about my own personal life. And even the ones that seem random and seem like kind of out of place, I've always been able to find a place for them and being like, okay, yep, this is exactly what it was. And sometimes it might even take me like a week, 2 weeks, a month sometimes, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh my gosh, I remember that dream that I had a month ago. Holy shit, this is the exact same way that I felt in that dream. There's the exact same energy that I was going through in that dream. And I'm just starting to see the like picture get clearer, you know? So, you know, I know a lot of people might kind of just chalk it up as well to just like, you know, some dreams are just random. For me, that's not been the case, you know, just my own personal experiences. But, you know, I also appreciate that other people have their own personal experiences too, which is why I think it's important that everyone share their own individual perspective. Even if sometimes, you know, sometimes I'll find myself like, okay, I've seen about like 5 videos on dreams, you know, where people have talked about their own different perspectives on dreams. And then it kind of discourages me, and I'm like, what what sets my video apart, and is it actually going to bring anything to the table in terms of, you know, my own perspective? Or is it really just a waste of time and people can just go watch other people's videos? You know, because I don't just want to post the same shit, like regurgitated content, you know. But then I realize as well, not everybody's lived my life, you know, and also we all have a unique perspective on things. So even if it maybe majority of it might seem the same, you gotta always acknowledge that you have your own unique perspective and unique way of looking at it. And if you share that, you know, you don't know how much people you could actually help just based on that little inkling or little small thing that you thought was only insignificant could actually be the most significant thing that'll help someone to get out of their shit. You know, like my dreams. So a lot of them, if I was to tell other people, they might be like, that seems so insignificant. That's like small on a scale of like importance. But I've seen them time and time again help me get out of shit that I probably wouldn't have been able to get out of had I not listened to my dreams. Right? So It's just something to kind of think about, a little bit of food for thought. And also remember, everybody's got their own experiences too. But if you guys would be interested in learning more about dreams and how to interpret them, I would highly recommend that sun gazing video and that moon gazing video, because that is what helped me to become a lot better. Wouldn't say I mastered it, but I've definitely gotten up there in a very short amount of time in terms of being able to read the symbolism in my dreams. And then also that's just helped me to read symbolism in general, and like in a wider sense, like life, dreams, everything. So now I'll be able to look at certain people's dreams. Certain people will tell me their dreams, and I instantly can tell them. Like, I'll be like, straight away, as soon as someone tells me their dreams, I'm like, do you want to hear my opinion? Do you want to hear what I'm thinking about this dream? And they go, yep, I'd love to hear your opinion. And then I start going on, and like, I'm about to hesitate, but I'm like, pretty sure. I was gonna say every single time I've been right, but then I was about to hesitate, and I was like, wait, has there been a time where I've been wrong? But that's the thing. Even in certain situations where the person has been like, oh, I don't know if that resonates, it might be so slight the difference. So they'll be like, yeah, everything resonates except for this one tiny inkling detail. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's fine, because like that's only small. So it just shows the testament to your ability to be able to learn and grow and expand, right? And also just like confirm what I was saying at the start of the video, with everything, like majority, if not all, of your problems can be solved mentally and spiritually, specifically when you're looking at your dreams, because your dreams is just you inside of your mind being able to interpret it more clearly. So yeah, I'll see you guys for the next video. Keep this one nice, short and sweet, and yar, peace.